Hello, esteemed gentlemen. Growth doesn't ask for permission. It quietly replaces your entire world while you're busy becoming better. At first, nothing looks dramatic. No explosions, no betrayal arc, no movie soundtrack playing in the background. You just wake up one day and realize the conversations feel recycled, the mindsets feel small, and the ambitions sound like old radio stations you outgrew years ago. You're not angry. You're not arrogant. You're just operating on a different frequency now. And somehow, without trying to, you've started outgrowing almost everyone you know. Here's a strange fact. Studies on personal development and behavioral change consistently show that most adults keep the same core habits, thinking patterns, and social circles for decades. In other words, many people mentally peak early and then simply maintain. A Sigma doesn't maintain. He compounds. While others preserve comfort, he upgrades his identity. While others protect familiarity, he redesigns his future. That quiet difference doesn't just create success, it creates separation. And the funny part? Nobody sends you a memo saying, "Congratulations, you've officially outgrown your circle." There's no ceremony, no cake, just awkward silences, misunderstood boundaries, and suddenly realizing your old jokes don't land anymore. Even your patience has quietly resigned without notice. This isn't about superiority, it's about trajectory. When your standards rise, your tolerance shifts. When your thinking sharpens, your environment either evolves with you or slowly falls behind. Growth has a way of rearranging your life without asking your opinion first, like an unexpected software update that changes the entire interface overnight. Today, we're uncovering the real psychological reasons why Sigma males outgrow almost everyone they know, not from ego, not from isolation fantasies, but from deep internal evolution that most people never commit to. If you've ever felt yourself mentally outpacing your surroundings, this might explain more than you expect. Number 1. They stop negotiating with comfort while others build their lives around it. Most people build their lives like safe little cages. They choose routines, friendships, jobs, and habits that feel comfortable, predictable, and socially approved. It's not that they don't want more, it's that the discomfort of change feels scarier than the pain of stagnation. They negotiate with comfort every single day, and over time, it compounds into a life that's small, safe, and familiar. A Sigma male, on the other hand, doesn't just tolerate discomfort, he uses it as fuel. He understands that growth is never polite, never convenient, and never easy. He deliberately seeks situations that challenge him mentally, emotionally, and sometimes physically, because he knows every uncomfortable step expands his limits. Where others see risk, he sees tuition for the mind. Where others see awkwardness, he sees an opportunity to develop presence and resilience. While friends are arguing over who's right on trivial matters, he's reading, practicing, and testing himself in ways that feel unnatural to everyone else. Most people's growth is accidental. They change because life forces them to. The Sigma's growth is intentional. This difference in approach creates an invisible gap that only widens over time. Friends and acquaintances continue living in predictability, protecting comfort as if it were life insurance, while the Sigma is quietly evolving into a version of himself that they can barely recognize. It's not arrogance, it's momentum. People don't notice it at first because the change is subtle, almost invisible. But eventually, the gap becomes undeniable. Conversations feel shallow, shared activities feel draining, and even the jokes that used to land start to fall flat. He's not abandoning anyone. He's simply moving at a speed that others aren't willing to reach. This unwillingness to compromise with comfort doesn't just shape success, it shapes identity. By refusing to settle for ease, the Sigma becomes a person who can handle complexity, uncertainty, and challenge naturally. While the rest of the world negotiates with comfort, he negotiates with growth, and that's the reason he outgrows almost everyone he knows. Number 2, they evolve faster because they question their own beliefs before life forces them to. Most people don't truly change until the world smacks them hard enough to leave no choice. They cling to old beliefs, outdated habits, and safe patterns until circumstances force them into crisis. A Sigma male doesn't wait for the universe to break him down to see what needs fixing. He looks inward constantly, examines his assumptions, and questions every part of his thinking before it becomes a problem. He knows that stagnation is silent but deadly. It creeps in, numbs ambition, and quietly locks people into the same predictable outcomes year after year. By choosing to analyze himself first, he compounds growth in ways that most people can't even imagine. This self-questioning isn't just intellectual, it's relentless and uncomfortable. He examines his successes and failures, his motivations, his fears, and even his prejudices. Every choice he makes is filtered through the lens of whether it aligns with the person he wants to become, not the person he used to be. He doesn't stay attached to pride, convenience, or habit. He treats his mind like a laboratory, constantly testing, refining, and discarding what no longer serves him. The effect of this mindset is massive. People who wait for life to force them into evolution can only react, whereas the Sigma is always ahead, creating his own trajectory. Relationships, opportunities, and challenges start to feel like they belong to someone else because his thinking is operating on a different wavelength. This isn't arrogance. It's just that he has preemptively solved problems before they arrive. Over time, the difference becomes glaring. Old friends, colleagues, and peers are still arguing over trivial matters or repeating mistakes, while the Sigma is quietly building skills, perspectives, and experiences that elevate him far beyond their reach. Growth becomes exponential, invisible at first, but undeniable eventually. Questioning oneself before being forced to do so isn't easy, but it ensures that the Sigma male isn't just surviving life, he's outpacing it, outgrowing expectations, and outclassing almost everyone he knows. Number 3. They don't emotionally attach to outdated versions of people. Most people hold on to others because of who they used to be rather than who they are now. Old memories, shared history, or comfort in familiarity keeps them emotionally tethered, even when the person in front of them has stopped growing. A Sigma male operates differently. He recognizes that emotional attachment should be based on alignment, not nostalgia. If someone's mindset, habits, or ambitions stop evolving, he doesn't force a connection that no longer serves mutual growth. He lets go quietly, without drama, because he understands that growth is forward-moving, and clinging to the past only weighs him down. This detachment isn't coldness or indifference, it's precision. He evaluates relationships like he evaluates his own life. Is this connection propelling me forward or holding me back? People who refuse to evolve can drain energy, blur focus, and introduce stagnation into an otherwise advancing path. By refusing to anchor himself to outdated versions of people, the Sigma protects his mental clarity and emotional bandwidth. Over time, this creates a natural separation between him and those who are comfortable remaining static. It also changes the dynamic of interaction. Friends who once shared endless hours of conversation suddenly feel like strangers because the Sigma no longer engages in the patterns that bonded them in the past. He doesn't apologize for moving on or for leaving behind those who can't keep pace. He's not abandoning anyone out of spite. He's simply honoring his own evolution and refusing to invest in relationships that can't match his growth. This mindset ensures that his world is continuously filled with energy, ideas, and people that challenge and elevate him. While others are trapped by sentiment, he operates with a clarity that allows him to grow exponentially. Letting go of outdated versions of people is one of the silent forces that separates the Sigma from everyone around him. It's the reason he moves faster, climbs higher, and eventually outgrows almost everyone he once knew. Growth doesn't wait for permission, and neither does he. Number 4, they build internal authority instead of outsourcing their thinking. Most people live on autopilot, borrowing opinions, beliefs, and decisions from external sources without ever testing them. Social media feeds, peer groups, family expectations, and cultural narratives often dictate what they think, what they value, and even how they define success. The Sigma male refuses to outsource his thinking. He develops an internal authority, a personal framework built on observation, experience, and relentless self-inquiry. Every decision, every belief, every conclusion is filtered through this inner compass rather than borrowed from someone else. This self-reliance in thought separates him from the crowd in ways that are invisible at first, but undeniable over time. Building internal authority isn't about arrogance or dismissing other viewpoints. It's about cultivating clarity and independence. While others are debating endlessly over what society says, the Sigma has already tested ideas against reality, refined his own standards, and acted decisively. He doesn't need approval or validation to make choices. He trusts his judgment because he's invested in sharpening it continuously. This creates a quiet confidence that shows up in every interaction, every negotiation, every move he makes. The gap between him and those who outsource their thinking grows steadily. Conversations with peers who repeat what they've heard often feel shallow and frustrating. The Sigma notices patterns, connections, and consequences that others simply miss. Over time, he becomes mentally untouchable in ordinary social environments. People around him continue operating on borrowed authority, debating trends and opinions, while he operates from a place of original thought and experience. This independence also shapes his life trajectory. He doesn't follow paths because they are safe, popular, or expected. He follows paths that align with his values, curiosity, and long-term vision. The people who remain dependent on external validation are left behind, clinging to consensus while the Sigma quietly outpaces them. By building internal authority, he doesn't just gain clarity, he gains freedom, direction, and a pace of growth that almost no one in his previous circle can match. It's the single most underrated reason why Sigma males outgrow almost everyone they know. Number 5. They don't confuse social validation with personal alignment. Most people spend their entire lives chasing approval without realizing it. Likes, compliments, praise, promotions, or social recognition become the measure of their choices, decisions, and even self-worth. They make compromises, adjust their opinions, and sometimes abandon their own goals just to fit in or be liked. The Sigma male sees this clearly and refuses to play that game. He understands that external validation is fleeting, inconsistent, and often meaningless, while alignment with his own principles, vision, and values compounds over time. He doesn't need anyone else's applause to confirm that he's on the right path, because he trusts his own internal compass. This creates a subtle but powerful separation from almost everyone around him. People who chase social approval are trapped in a cycle of compromise and distraction. They adjust themselves constantly to fit expectations they didn't even choose. The Sigma, however, stays consistent with who he is and what he believes, even when it makes him look strange, unpopular, or difficult to understand. Over time, This self-alignment naturally propels him forward in ways that are invisible to the outside world, but undeniable in results. The effects aren't just external, they shape his mindset and energy. He doesn't waste time on shallow validation loops, gossip, or meaningless comparisons. He conserves his mental and emotional energy for decisions, actions, and relationships that actually matter. Friends, colleagues, and acquaintances who remain dependent on social validation slowly drift away because the Sigma no longer participates in the same mental economy. He's operating on a higher frequency reality, one where clarity, purpose, and strategic thinking matter more than likes, nods, or applause. This distinction is one of the quiet reasons Sigma males outgrow almost everyone they know. By prioritizing personal alignment over external approval, he creates a life that moves faster, feels more authentic, and produces results that others can't match simply by following trends or people-pleasing. Social validation may feel necessary to many, but the Sigma knows that true growth, freedom, and influence are reserved for those who refuse to confuse being liked with being aligned. It's a radical, silent edge that separates him from the crowd permanently. Number 6. They upgrade their identity faster than their environment can keep up. Most people live within the roles, labels, and expectations assigned to them by others. They become comfortable being the friend, the helper, the quiet one, or the jokester, even when those roles no longer reflect who they are or who they're becoming. A Sigma male refuses to be confined by these boxes. He constantly upgrades his identity, his skills, mindset, habits, and worldview, often faster than the people around him can recognize or understand. He doesn't wait for permission, acknowledgement, or approval to evolve. He moves, shifts, and grows quietly, and over time, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. This relentless self-upgrading creates a subtle but undeniable gap between him and his environment. Friends and colleagues remain attached to the person he used to be, expecting the same behaviors, conversations, and patterns. They try to fit him back into the old version because it's familiar and comfortable. The Sigma, however, refuses to shrink or pause to satisfy others' expectations. He has learned that growth is personal, non-negotiable, and often lonely. It doesn't wait for people to catch up, and neither does he. The speed at which he evolves naturally separates him from stagnant environments. Conversations that once felt natural feel shallow, shared experiences feel constraining, and old patterns no longer resonate. This isn't arrogance. It's a byproduct of constant self-reinvention. While others cling to identity as a fixed thing, the Sigma treats it like a tool, upgrading it strategically to match his ambitions, principles, and long-term vision. Over time, the gap widens so much that even the closest relationships begin to feel misaligned. People who once understood him perfectly suddenly struggle to relate because he's no longer operating on the same mental and emotional level. The world doesn't tell you when you've outgrown it. You just notice the friction, the subtle distance, and the quiet realization that you're moving on a trajectory others cannot follow. Upgrading identity faster than the environment can keep up is not just about personal growth. It's about creating a life that moves forward relentlessly, leaving behind anything that no longer serves the evolution of who you're becoming. The Sigma doesn't just grow, he evolves in a way that others can't, and that inevitability is what sets him apart. Number 7. They become allergic to emotional chaos disguised as connection. Most people confuse emotional turbulence with intimacy. Drama, gossip, constant complaints, and repetitive conflicts are treated as signs of closeness, as if suffering together or venting endlessly builds connection. A Sigma male sees this clearly and doesn't buy into it. Over time, he develops an instinctive sensitivity to emotional chaos. He recognizes it for what it is: energy draining, distracting, and ultimately useless for growth. He doesn't just avoid it, he actively removes it from his life. The people who thrive on this chaos are left behind, not out of spite, but because the Sigma refuses to let their patterns slow down his evolution. This allergy to chaos doesn't mean he avoids emotions entirely. He experiences them fully and authentically, but selectively. He engages with people who elevate, challenge, or inspire him, and he distances himself from those who repeatedly create unnecessary turmoil. Ordinary social interactions that rely on gossip, insecurity, or conflict feel exhausting to him because his priorities operate on a different level. While others are stuck in loops of recycled arguments or drama-driven bonding, he moves forward, preserving clarity and mental energy. The effect on relationships is profound. Friends who were once close may find him distant or unresponsive because he no longer participates in the habitual emotional turbulence they depend on. Family dynamics, workplace politics, and social groups that thrive on reactive energy become increasingly uncomfortable. The Sigma doesn't chase approval or seek to be liked in these spaces. He simply values mental and emotional sovereignty over appearances or conformity. This ability to reject chaos becomes a silent force that separates him from almost everyone he once knew. It's not visible in flashy ways, but the absence of unnecessary drama creates a gap between him and those who are still entangled in it. By refusing to tolerate emotional chaos disguised as connection, he maintains a level of focus, peace, and control that ordinary social ecosystems cannot match. Over time, this selective engagement ensures that his path is clear, his energy uncompromised, and his growth unstoppable, leaving behind anyone who cannot operate beyond the noise of habitual chaos. Number 8. They stop tolerating environments that shrink their nervous system. Most people don't realize how much their environment shapes their thinking, energy, and growth. Toxic workplaces, draining friendships, chaotic social circles, and emotionally manipulative relationships slowly compress their potential without them noticing. They adapt, complain quietly, or convince themselves that this is just how life is. The Sigma male operates differently. He becomes acutely aware of the subtle ways environments affect his mind and his capacity to evolve. Once he recognizes a space that shrinks his nervous system, that reduces his focus, increases anxiety, or normalizes mediocrity, he refuses to remain there. He doesn't just survive these spaces, he removes himself from them entirely, preserving his energy for growth, clarity, and progress. This refusal to tolerate constraining environments is not about being dramatic or socially distant. It's about understanding that growth requires mental freedom, clarity of thought, and emotional stability. Ordinary environments that many people accept as normal, gossip-filled social circles, draining co-workers, or family dynamics rooted in dependency and stagnation, become invisible barriers for the Sigma. He doesn't compromise his trajectory to accommodate the inertia of others. Over time, this selective avoidance compounds into a clear separation between him and those who remain trapped in comfort, chaos, or mediocrity. The effect on relationships and social perception is profound. People around him may feel abandoned, judged, or distanced, but the Sigma isn't rejecting them personally. He's protecting his nervous system and optimizing his life for growth. He recognizes that tolerance for shrinkage comes with hidden costs, wasted energy, diminished ambition, and slowed evolution. By refusing to endure environments that hold him back, he maintains a level of focus and resilience that ordinary social systems cannot replicate. This approach creates a natural gap between him and almost everyone he knows. While others continue to conform, tolerate, and complain, the Sigma moves forward, aligning himself with spaces and people that elevate rather than limit him. His selective engagement with the world ensures that he outgrows environments, connections, and mindsets that no longer serve him. Growth becomes inevitable when you refuse to shrink for anyone else. And the Sigma lives this truth relentlessly, leaving behind those unwilling to rise to his level. Number 9, they invest in skills while others invest in distractions. Most people spend their time and energy on low-value habits that offer instant gratification but no lasting return. Endless scrolling, gossip, meaningless debates, binge entertainment. These are the distractions that consume the majority of attention in everyday life. A Sigma male approaches time differently. He treats it like capital, investing in skills, knowledge, and experiences that compound over the long term. Reading, practicing, learning, experimenting, and mastering abilities become the currency of his growth, while the world around him continues to trade in fleeting entertainment and shallow validation. This difference creates an invisible but powerful gap. While others recycle their time on habits that maintain comfort, he builds competence in areas that others barely understand or appreciate. He isn't chasing popularity, recognition, or external approval. He's stacking skills, honing judgment, and sharpening mental clarity. Over months and years, the effects compound exponentially. The Sigma can enter rooms, conversations, and opportunities with insights, abilities, and perspectives that leave others behind without them even realizing how far ahead he has moved. Investing in skills rather than distractions also shapes how he sees the world. Ordinary social interactions, idle chatter, or the endless pursuit of approval start to feel like wasted energy because his standards have shifted. He values effectiveness, intelligence, and mastery over trivial amusement. This creates a natural divergence from people who remain entangled in habits that provide temporary pleasure but no real advancement. The result is a life trajectory that far outpaces the norm. While most people are busy maintaining their status quo through comfort and distraction, the Sigma quietly becomes the version of himself that others aspire to, without any deliberate performance. This relentless focus on self-improvement and skill accumulation ensures that he not only grows faster, but also develops a level of independence and confidence that ordinary social ecosystems can't sustain. It's this disciplined choice to invest in himself rather than waste energy on distractions that ensures he outgrows almost everyone he knows, leaving a silent, undeniable gap between him and the crowd. Number 10. They don't romanticize struggle. They engineer progress. Most people wear struggle like a badge of honor. They talk about hardships, celebrate surviving chaos, and almost take pride in how much they've suffered. It becomes a part of their identity, a story they tell themselves and others to justify their current reality. The Sigma male doesn't fall into this trap. He experiences challenges fully, but he doesn't glorify them or let them define him. Instead, he treats struggle as a tool, a signal, and a problem to solve, something to analyze, learn from, and then move past. Progress is always the goal. Surviving hardship is not the destination. This mindset separates him sharply from the majority. While others might linger in narratives of struggle, replaying setbacks and hardships as if they were accomplishments, the Sigma actively engineers solutions. He focuses on systems, strategies, and actions that eliminate repeated pain and create forward momentum. He doesn't chase suffering or embrace victimhood. He uses every difficulty as a stepping stone toward mastery and independence. The difference is subtle at first, but over time, it becomes glaringly obvious. People around him remain caught in cycles of endurance and complaint, while he's quietly building leverage and competence that take him far beyond their reach. The Sigma's approach also changes the way he views obstacles. Challenges are no longer excuses or validation points. They are data, feedback, and opportunities for growth. He measures himself not by how much he suffers or how dramatic his journey appears, but by how efficiently he adapts, improves, and achieves results. That ability to extract maximum value from struggle while refusing to be defined by it creates a trajectory that others cannot match. Over time, the Sigma's life becomes fundamentally different from those who romanticize struggle. Relationships, conversations, and social circles that dwell in hardship feel stagnant and exhausting. His progress, engineered deliberately and strategically, leaves him operating on a level that few around him can comprehend. While most people survive, the Sigma thrives, not by accident, but by design. And that is why he outgrows almost everyone he knows. Number 11. They stop needing permission to become someone different. Most people wait for approval before making major changes in their lives. They look for social validation, family reassurance, or peer acceptance before changing careers, pursuing passions, or even shifting beliefs. This waiting keeps them trapped in outdated versions of themselves, tied to expectations that no longer serve them. The Sigma male operates on a completely different principle. He gives himself permission. He doesn't wait for anyone else to validate his choices or define his limits. When he wants to evolve, reinvent himself, or take a leap, he does it, quietly, deliberately, and without asking for consent from the world around him. This mindset is a powerful differentiator. By refusing to rely on external approval, the Sigma accelerates his growth. He can take risks others won't, make decisions that feel uncomfortable to those around him, and explore paths that would terrify people stuck in dependence on social validation. While most people are negotiating with others before they even negotiate with themselves, he's already building momentum, reshaping identity, and moving in directions that feel natural only to him. This self-authority creates a mental freedom that separates him from the crowd in ways that are invisible at first, but undeniable over time. The consequences of this autonomy are profound. Friends, colleagues, and family members often struggle to understand or accept the changes he makes. They expect him to stay within the box they're comfortable with, and when he doesn't, they feel unsettled or disconnected. The Sigma doesn't resist or argue. He simply doesn't adjust to fit anyone else's comfort. He prioritizes alignment with his own vision and principles over the approval of others, which naturally leaves behind those who cannot evolve at his pace. By refusing to wait for permission, the Sigma takes full control over his growth and identity. He reinvents himself without hesitation, experiments with new possibilities, and breaks old patterns before anyone else can question him. This relentless self-sovereignty ensures that he outpaces almost everyone in his life. While others remain constrained by approval, expectation, and hesitation, the Sigma moves forward decisively, leaving behind a world that isn't ready to operate at his level of evolution. Number 12. They realize growth automatically makes you incompatible with your past social ecosystem. Growth isn't polite. It doesn't ask if your friends, family, or colleagues are ready to keep up. When a Sigma male evolves, mentally, emotionally, and strategically, he inevitably becomes incompatible with the environment that once supported him. Relationships, routines, and social circles that fit perfectly in the past suddenly feel constraining, superficial, or exhausting. The shift isn't personal, it's structural. When your identity, standards, and ambitions rise, the people and systems that used to work for you often no longer align. The Sigma doesn't force compatibility. He adapts, moves, and creates space that matches his evolution. This realization changes everything about how he navigates life. Ordinary social bonds are maintained through shared routines, expectations, and habits, but growth breaks all of that. Friends who were once close may struggle to relate to him because he's no longer operating on the same mental or emotional wavelength. Conversations, activities, and even humor that once connected him with others now feel trivial or limiting. He doesn't linger, justify, or apologize. Instead, he prioritizes alignment over attachment, understanding that clinging to outdated social ecosystems slows down evolution and compromises the trajectory of his life. The Sigma's recognition of this dynamic allows him to operate without guilt or hesitation. He doesn't abandon people out of cruelty. He steps into a space that fits his growth. Over time, this creates a clear but quiet separation from those who remain tethered to past patterns. While ordinary social systems reward comfort, predictability, and conformity, the Sigma moves toward complexity, autonomy, and challenge. His growth accelerates while others remain static, and the gap widens naturally. This principle, that growth itself creates incompatibility, is one of the quietest yet most profound reasons Sigma males outgrow almost everyone they know. He doesn't need confrontation or conflict to leave people behind. His evolution simply moves faster than the social ecosystem around him. As a result, he builds a life, mindset, and circle that reflect his trajectory, leaving the past where it belongs, behind him. This is the unspoken truth of exponential growth. It separates the evolved from the stagnant, and the Sigma lives it deliberately and relentlessly. Growth is rarely polite, and the path of a Sigma male proves it in every step. He doesn't wait for life to hand him clarity. He creates it. He doesn't cling to comfort, nostalgia, or social validation, because he understands that real evolution comes at the cost of leaving behind what no longer serves him. Every decision he makes, every boundary he sets, and every skill he hones compounds silently but relentlessly, creating a trajectory that almost everyone around him simply cannot match. It's not arrogance or superiority. It's a byproduct of intentional self-mastery, relentless curiosity, and an uncompromising commitment to becoming the best version of himself. The world doesn't pause for him, and neither does he. His growth accelerates naturally, reshaping his relationships, conversations, and environment, until only what aligns with his vision and standards remains. This is the quiet power of a Sigma male, the ability to evolve beyond expectation, to outgrow limitations, and to rise in ways that are invisible at first, but undeniable in impact. For anyone watching, understanding this isn't just fascinating, it's transformative. It shows why some people seem to leap ahead without effort, while others remain stuck in repetition, frustration, or comfort. It challenges the way we see relationships, success, and even the definition of influence. The Sigma male's journey is a blueprint for anyone who refuses to settle, who refuses to compromise growth for approval, and who wants to understand the unspoken rules that separate the extraordinary from the ordinary. If this resonated with you, make sure to take action. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss insights that push you toward growth, like this video to show your support. Comment below with your thoughts or experiences with outgrowing people, and share it with someone who needs to see this. The journey of evolution is not meant to be quiet, and sharing these truths helps awaken those who are ready to move forward. Don't let this knowledge sit idle. Let it inspire change, challenge comfort, and remind you that growth always comes first, and those unwilling to grow will inevitably fall behind.